Alright guys, Fuller coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LDBC. If you like this video, please feel free to like this video, comment below on the video on your thoughts, so we can interact with one another. And also go ahead and I invite you to subscribe to my page. So you can stay in the loop with things that we got going on the page. So I was looking at my YouTube feed, and one of the recommended videos was an interview with Kid Chocolate, Peter Quillin. And so I clicked on it, you know, and shout outs to Fight Hype for this interview. And I was just listening to what the brother had to say, and pretty much everything he had to say was spot on. You know, whether we like it or not, boxing is a racially and nationalistic motivated thing. And he was just showing the double standards of some of these fans in boxing. And you know, while I understand that Andre Ward is a company man now, that's without a doubt, that dude is straight up a company man. You know, he's a yes man as an ESPN analyst, okay? And we can see that in the fact that he having a riff with Gervonta Tank Davis, or Gervonta Tank Davis took what he had to say in the wrong way, you know, and so now those two are having a riff with one another. But anyhow, we're just gonna take the Andre Ward when he was boxing. Now when Andre Ward was boxing, you know, fans were very selective in, like, basically supporting him, you know, and I'm talking about American fans. In fact, you had American fans who were going against him in the win that he got against Sergey Kovalev. You know, a lot of them wanted Sergey Kovalev to win. That's who they were shooting for, to win the fight. Then you have fans that would say things like, oh, he's not, like, he doesn't have like a persona, like, meaning he doesn't have a like he doesn't talk enough trash. Like that's what the fans were saying. You know, and the thing is that you know, here's a guy who had like the squeaky clean image that you could tell your kids, this is who you have to be like. I mean, Olympic gold medalist, undefeated in his pro career, beat the likes of Sullivan Barrera, beat the likes of Carl Froch, beat the likes of Sergey Kovalev, multiple weight divisions, married in what basically the typical American dream, right? But then when you see these fans, they criticize him for not being mean enough, not having a mean streak, basically. And those same fans would basically, those same fans would basically say that Floyd Mayweather was a jerk and he was a disgrace to sport for basically doing what they wanted Andre Ward to do. And so these are some of the many double standards in boxing that you will see, you know. And Peter Quillin called it for what it is, racism. Let's take another example that he didn't mention, and then I'm going to go on to something else, which I think is very important for all of us to understand, that I've mentioned in many videos before. For some reason, fighters like, let's say a fighter like Floyd Mayweather, let's say a fighter like Guillermo Rigondeaux, let's say a fighter like Pernell Whitaker, let's say a fighter like Erislan de Lara, let's say a fighter like Demetrius Boo Andrade, who all have one thing in common. They are more in tune with the sweet science of the sport. Their thing is more of boxing, although we know them to get aggressive at times. But these are very highly skilled boxers, very highly skilled, you know, very, very skilled people. But according to most of the decaps, they are boring. Their style is boring, you know. Some will go as far as to say, I fall asleep when I watch them fight. You know, sometimes that's the talk. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, they're boring. I fall asleep watching them fight, right? But then, Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, Vasily Lomachenko, and Josh Kelly, who basically tried to do the same exact things. They're the best thing since, what you would call it, apple pie. They're the best thing since Ali. They're the best thing since other greats that we've had in the past, right? That, even Max Kellerman described Lomachenko, oh, he's a Picasso, and things like that, for doing the same things that we've seen other dudes do, you know, who happen to have a different complexion or a different background. And I want to sidestep off of that a little bit to say that you get nationalistic racism as well. How many of a time have I, you know, because I've said in many videos before, due to my travels to Cuba and due to my affinity with Cuba and my family history that has historically had Cubans as allies, okay? You're gonna see me rock like Cuban stuff. You're gonna see me, of course, in my own fight game, take some of the things that I learned in Cuba, of course, absolutely. But you'll be surprised at how many messed up things you hear Mexicans say about the likes of Erislandy Lara, about the likes of these Cuban fighters. And the thing that these Cuban fighters have in common is they happen to be of an African or mixed origin. But they will puta madres, jotos, culeros, vergas, all kinds of, just horrible things, Even insulting Erislandy Lara's woman. Like, what does his woman have to do with this, man? With you not liking him, in this fight style. This woman got nothing to do with that. And so, this is alive and well in boxing. This is alive and well. And Peter Quillin, shout outs to him for calling it out how it is. Without trying to be politically correct, which is keeping it with no filters. I'll give you another example. Well, let's take an example in the past. And I was just reading this in a book. Now, granted, I didn't know that much about Jack Johnson. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not know that much about him. But what I do know is that they did not want to have a black heavyweight at the time, okay? They did everything in their power not to make that happen. So Jack Johnson went to Australia and got the heavyweight title. They came up with so many ways to try to dethrone him. When they couldn't get anybody in the ring to dethrone him, they basically framed him. And so what he did is he went overseas and did his thing over there. I think he went to Spain. I think he went to Russia. Went to a couple of places overseas. And then they had one fight in Havana, Cuba, where he threw the fight because he was trying to get back to the United States. He wanted to get back, And so, these are just some of the things that have been in the history of boxing. Let's just look at Muhammad Ali. People weren't messing with Muhammad Ali when he was a slick-talking young upstart who was after the glory and getting these belts. People weren't messing with Muhammad Ali. Okay? And they thought he should be basically a yes man. That's what they thought he should be. Right? But that wasn't going to be the case with him. He was cut from a different cloth. Right? And so, I say this because it's still going on in boxing. And it will never stop in boxing. I don't care how old boxing gets. And especially with the racial politics in this country, you really think it's going to stop? No, it's not. If anything, it's going to increase. Now, the last thing I want to leave you guys on this video, okay? Well, there's two things. The first thing is the double standards is when a fighter of a different complexion commits a crime versus one who doesn't, or versus one who's black. Let's just take Boo Boo Andre, for example. He got caught with a strap, right? it was on headlines the next day. Okay? He just got caught with a strap. Let's just say because you never know who's going to be out in these streets. And so you just want to protect yourself, right? So let's look at Sergey Kovalev, who beat a woman, right? Nobody was calling him a thug or anything like that. As a matter of fact, it took a couple of days, or actually, yeah, I want to say a couple of weeks for us to know that even happened with him. Let's take Oscar De La Hoya. He gets a pass for basically being a sodomite, a rapist, and a coke sniffer. Because again, they're going off the nationality, right? And they're also going off the fact that this dude, let's be real, he's not mestizo. If anything, he's more European descended than he is indigenous descended as far as the Mexican thing is concerned. Now, Peter Quillin says something else that I completely agree with as well. He said, besides Canelo, who is Golden Boy's biggest star? Besides Canelo. Or he went specific and said, name a black fighter on Golden Boy who's a big star. And he's like, I'll wait. And again, that's something I agree with. Golden Boy has historically not been really accommodating of black fighters, and that's just the truth. They have one guy that they have placed a lot of marbles in, which is Canelo, and they have a couple of other upstarts which they have placed some marbles in, like Ryan Garcia and like Jaime Munguia. But guess what? They don't got no black ones. And I don't think their plan is to have any black ones, because let's look. Let's do the history of Golden Boy. There were a lot of fighters on Golden Boy who we know of right now. You had Charlo. You had Erislandy Lara. You had Luis Ortiz. You had good names that you could actually make a name off of and bring money in and put butts into seats with these names that you had. But that wasn't in Oscar's agenda. That wasn't in his plans. And so they left. And so when karma caught up to Oscar and they started flourishing at these other places, that's when those racist emails against Al Heyman came out. And those things were never, ever, ever, ever rectified. It's still a big question mark on, and nobody was held account for those emails. We still have a question mark to this day about him, right? Now, let's do one more final thing. Although YouTube, I'm just going to keep it real, although YouTube does have a lot of restrictions with this platform, it really does. But at the same time, it's a platform. We have our own platform on YouTube. For the most part, we can say things, but there's other things that basically we gotta watch out for, of course. But we have our own platform here. This is our own space. We're able to express ourselves and our views and opinions. You know, so we can kind of equate YouTube to basically we are our own promoters. You know, we there's a certain product we promote. There's a certain product we create. You know, whether that product is like a mindset, basically, or a actual physical product that we advertise on this stream. And that's what Peter Quillin was alluding at with the Al Heyman model. He was asking, who are these fighters' promoters? And the fighters' promoters are they are their own promoters. So that's why he started naming Bomb Squad Promotions. That's why he started naming Lions Only Promotions. That's why he started naming these things, you know, because it's a platform, you know, that has been given to him that wouldn't be given to him if they were signed in the traditional route of a promoter, you know. And so that's what I think is the way forward for all black fighters and for all minority fighters, is that model. Because this enables you more creative control over your career. It allows you to basically work for yourself. And it also allows you to basically be responsible for any image you want to put out or present to your public, you know. That's what it makes you do. And so I like what he had to say, basically. And I completely agree with what he had to say, you know. And I think that's, in me, you know, I talk to my coach all the time, and I tell him, because the thing is this, I come from kind of like a different, I'm an anomaly, basically. I'm an anomaly in the sense that, like, although boxing is bae, I don't want to just depend on boxing as a means to eat. I want to be able to do have more than one thing going on, because honestly, this is just how I feel. This is me personally. If you just have boxing as a single form of income, then, you know, you're in a sense like kind of in a wall where you may be compromised to do anything and everything to try to get to a certain point. And maybe one of those things that you do means doping up, basically, and going on some steroids or something like that to get to a certain level. Whereas if you go into a boxing ring and you already own let's just say you own some restaurants or something like that, and you got money working outside of the ring for you, then I think you can fight better. You know, me personally, I just believe you'll fight better, you'll fight smoother, more relaxed. But that doesn't necessarily negate that you will fight less serious, though, you know, because at the end of the day, that's why you box. You box to compete, you box to test yourself and stuff like that, you know. And of course you box for money, but I mean, I'm sorry to say it, there's easier ways of getting money than risking losing your life in the ring, you know. So there's a other underlying sense of why you box, you know. And so yeah, you know, that's all I wanted to say about this thing. You know, it's a good interview that Peter Quillin gave. You know, shout outs to Fight High for that interview. You know, it brought upon a lot of good talking points, you know. But anyhow, that's all I got, man. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments about this thing. And I'm just gonna put it out there too that you know, it's racial because they try to like they really are like when it comes to certain cash cows, they're very selective in who they put against them. You know, they rather see them, like, if they lose, like, let's just say for Canelo for instance, you know, we know that he has control and he decides who he wants to fight at this point because he's the cash cow. We know that. We know he's the money man. We know he's the money fighter. But in order to fight Canelo, you usually have to fight under circumstances like weight clauses, people in your corner, and things like that, in the like thereof, right? But, you know, they really, I mean, and this isn't to say that it will happen. We don't know if it will happen because everything in boxing is unpredictable. But they rather risk Canelo losing to like someone like a Kovalev or someone like a Callum Smith than they would a Charlo or a Demetrius Andre because, you know, of the fact that you would see the going back to the guard, which is that basically a black fighter just found a way to show his greatness through his skill level, you know, and they don't want that, you know, they don't need that, okay? And although they probably wouldn't lose he wouldn't lose the fan base even if he lost, they still don't want that on him. You know, that was one loss was enough from a black fighter. And so yeah, and I mean, many will argue that Erislandy Lara beat Canelo, but that's neither here nor there. But you know, imagine having a Cuban going in schooling the Mexican dude. They didn't want that either, you know. And so that's why you know, Lara didn't get the nod, you know. Please miss me with the stuff when you say he was running. How do you run when you land more headshots than the other dude? How are you running, you know? But anyhow, that's all I got for now, guys. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments. Full of signing out. Inshallah.